Good afternoon, everyone. This is Joanne Schechter, Executive Vice President of AAF Club Services, and we are pleased to welcome you to our first of several training webinars for the upgraded ADDY software that we fondly call version OC4. Today our training session will be led by Vice Chairman of the National ADDY Committee, Jeffrey DeLong, who has been instrumental in the redesign and upgrade of the software. The format for today will be to listen and watch on your screens. As you do this, you will see a question box on the screen where you can type in your questions. Once you do, you will push Send Message to Staff. At the conclusion of the training session, we will field those questions to Jeffrey. Before I turn this over to Jeffrey, I'd like to remind you that once you learn this and you're ready to go on your own, you'll need your new password and username to log on. So if you haven't requested that yet, you can do so by contacting Hallie at addyinfo@aaf.org. But you won't need it for today's training. With that, I give you Jeffrey.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well, and I hope you can see the screen. Right now, we're just going to start off with a few little things to show you where you can find information before we jump right in. So as you see on the screen, we have a couple of links at the bottom. The URL for this year's competition is addyawards.com. That's the one URL you need to remember. So if you click on that, it's going to take us to the aaf.org main page for the ADDYs, and then right along the side, the biggest link that you want to know about is the ADDY resources. When you click on that, here are your Bibles and all your go-to documents. Right now, the most updated are the professional rules and categories, which you must read cover to cover because it is a great read, and the student rules and categories. Another wonderful read is the how-to guide to make sure you can go through all that soup to nuts of the ADDY process. We have not completed a full upgrade of this one until we have all of our ducks in a row regarding the software. Other than that, everything else that you can see here is worth a read. So just remember the URL, addyawards.com. All right, so what we're here for is the online and entry judging software, and we have one URL to get you to your, being the club administrators or the district administrators. It's your URL to get to the admin, and it's addyawards.com/admin. So when we click to that, we're greeted by a lovely green page. And after you have received your username and password from Hallie, you will need to go in and log in for the first time. I'm actually going to log into a test competition and show you what it looks like once it gets in. So when we first get there, this is what you're going to see after you select. Let me get into a different one. I apologize. When you first log in, you'll be greeted with the agreement. And read through that. All you need to do is check the box and hit accept the rules, and then you will be into your system. Right now, we're going to go quickly through the left-hand side of the menu to get you set up for your competition. And we're going to go through a couple of philosophies on how to navigate this whole site. So right now, we're going to click on Configure, and we're going to go to Competitions. Here will be a list of all the competitions that are associated with your particular club. You will see two listed here. You will see last year's competition, 2011-2012, and you will see this year's competition, 2012-2013. Now, with that, what we're trying to do with this particular version of the software is keep a history of all your competitions. So all the data from the previous competition will be in the system for you to look at old entrants, look at old entries, and check all sorts of things. Maybe you need to remember what the price was last year for your competition. Anyhow, to find the URL to hand to your webmaster for your local club website, we need to highlight this URL and click it. Once you click it, you're going to get three URLs. The first one is the one for the competition itself. This is the one that you will hand to your website administrator for the local club website, and say, this is the link I need to say, click here to enter the ADDY competition. This will take your entrance directly to your competition's website. And what it will look like is that. In this one, I'm demoing the Nebraska ADDY's website. So as you notice at the top right-hand corner, you'll see that we can now brand these sites to our own liking. We can put our club logo. We can put maybe a graphic of the theme of the competition that year for your particular club and whatnot. We also have a whole area here to edit that we can create and put any sorts of text that we want up on here. It's fully HTML compliant, which means you can add graphics, you can add text, you can do anything you want here. So let's move back. The second URL will be later in a series that we'll have on a webinar, and that's for your judges. This will be the one that you would send to each of your judges to judge interactive ahead of time, or if you're going to use something like an iPad on site so you don't have to use paper score sheets, this will be the URL that you will give to your judges. The third one is your URL, but you'll never have to remember this because we've set it up nicely to be addyawards.com/admin, just like we got here before, so you don't have to remember all this gobbledygook at the end. The next thing I want to show you is pinning. And this is not the college pinning thing where you girls and guys are going to go steady. This is what we have to do to lock in the competition. If we do not pin the competition, then all the stuff that you're doing will not work. So when we're pinning the competition, we're going to say, all right, today we are working on this competition, and so everything we do on the left-hand side is going to affect this competition. Other things we can change, and to kind of navigate around the site, you'll notice there's a gray bar up here for searching, and we can search by a lot of different things, and when we have more competitions in the list, this will make more sense. We can add competitions, but please don't do that. That is not what we're here to do today. And then we can also edit the competition. Basically, we can change the name of the competition so it's compliant with whatever you've done. Most of them are set up to be 2012-2013 ADDY competition. You can change that to whatever you need. So back to the list. Now everything that we're going to do along the left-hand side will affect this competition. So the first thing we're going to look at is categories. As the list of categories come down, you'll notice that there's some missing. Another part of this gray box is allowing the total amount of records to be shown. Right now I'm going to move it to 20 because I see that I have 17 in the list. So as you can see, we have all of our divisions that we would normally see in the categories and rules. And when we click on that, we see the subcategories or the subdivisions of how we break sales promotion down. And then within that, we see all the specific categories for sales promotion in that. Catalog, sales kit, all that good stuff is right there. So let's go back out here. We'll see our full list, and each one is divided up that way. Regional, national, single, and then outlets, product, and services. And I will come back here to show you how you can add a category, but for right now we're going to keep going down the left-hand side. So to open up the competition, we would have to set dates to make sure that we're open and closed. One of the newer features this year is online payments. If you still want to accept checks, that's totally cool. Otherwise, you can also use the online payment gateways, and these are the ones it supports currently. So authorize.net, Payflow, and standard PayPal. All you need to do is select that one. So let's say I'm going to use the PayPal standard account. You put your login ID, you select what you want, and then you click Save and Close. So the icons across the top, Save and Close, Save, and then go back, and then there's always a Help button that sits along the side. That is another bonus of this full software, and one of the reasons we are not going to put out a software guide this year, because we have all this documentation already built in, and it's set to go that you can read up and check it out. So we're going to close that, go back here. Dates. This is the main one of the competition. The two that you need to be concerned with at this point are the competition start and end date, and that's it. Right now, you pull up the little window, you select your time, and your date, and I want you to keep in mind that this year all times are Eastern Standard, which means you need to -3 if you're on the Pacific Coast like me, or whatever your Central or Eastern. Don't worry about entrance store date. That is not existing right now. And then the preliminary review date and the judge registration date, these two you don't have to be concerned with right now. This one is actually your first judging round. It should be named Judge Round 1 in your competition. If it's not, it soon will be. But the main dates you need to be concerned with right now. So currently, my competition was open as of September 1st, and I'm going to close it on February 28th, 2013 at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard. Fees. We've already pre-populated most of the fees, and we should have brought in all of last year's fees for most of the clubs. And the way it breaks down is you have a student single entry, you have a student campaign entry, a professional single entry, and a professional campaign entry. If you want to change these, it's as simple as clicking the Edit button next to that line and changing the fee. Pretty much all you need to know in that group is right there is changing the fee, and you can either base it on entry fee or the non-member fee. And then between period and one, so this is the first date, and I will show you fee periods in a minute, and then this would be the add-on fee for the next deadline. So a lot of people have a first deadline, sometimes called early bird, and then the second deadline, which is sometimes called drop dead. Therefore, this is what's added on to the fee when the next fee period starts. So let's go to fee periods, and we'll see how that works. So my first one, which is the early bird deadline, I have set to go just in September. I was testing some stuff out here and wanted to make sure the fee deadline was going to show up. So I can change this to October 24th. And we'll move this to, oh my goodness, or you can just change it manually. And then we save and close, or we can just hit save. So our dates are now saved with that. The next thing you want to look at is the late fee driven by. So when your entrants are entering in their entries, you can either have them set the payment by either the date the entry was created, so if they go in between the days of September 1st and October 24th, then that's the price they'll get. If they go in between October 25th and February 28th, that's the price they'll get. Or you can have it whenever they save their entry, change their entry until they submit it. Or you can have it when the entry is actually paid for. I recommend leaving it on entry paid for. That way you know if they've paid for their entries or not, and they're a little more on the honor system. Back to dates and fees. We have another little deal called fee discounts. Say you've got an entrant that hasn't entered in a couple years and you want to get them back on the list, but they're griping about the price or whatever it is, or you just want to give them a little discount. You can click on fee discounts and click add, which is the little paper icon there, and you can add your discount. You would type in the discount name, and then you can put it based on a category. Say you've got a sponsorship on a certain category, or you can leave all this blank, set it up to professionals if you want, and then throw in a discount value. You can make it $10 off. You can do a percentage off, like 30% off. You can also have it based on a quantity of entries, which is pretty nice. So if they do 10 or more entries, they get 10% off. Whatever you want to do there is totally acceptable. Up to you. Let's go back to dates and fees. Now, for those of you that aren't into the online payment piece yet and you still want to accept checks, or you just want to offer that to accept online and checks, it's kind of hidden. Let me show you that again. It's under dates and fees, miscellaneous, and then this little pull down here, and it says entrant payment method type. So what this says is, do we want to display that entrant payment method? We select yes, and the other thing you need to do is change this text to explain Who do I make the check out to? What do I need to bring? However you want to structure that requirement. And that's dates and fees so far. On the entrant side of things, this is what gets displayed to the entrant. We have a lot more customization to be done for each site this year. You have a lot more control, but with a lot more control comes with a little bit more responsibility. We go to full pages, and these are all the pages we can change. The only one that you don't have to worry about is competition list. That one doesn't exist. So on the home page or the login page, this is the site that we first get greeted with. So the entrant will show up, and this is what they see. So I can change this to ADDY Awards, and I'll take this out for the time being. I can do whatever I want here with the WYSIWYG editor. I can make it bigger. I can add a graphic if I want to, change a little there, and then I'm going to save this. Okay, so let's go see what we've got. I've got a competition. I'm going to go grab my URL. Now, the other thing that I kind of glossed over, and what you need to know, is that if I'm logged in a browser right now as an admin, I cannot and should not open up the entrant side within the same browser. The reason being is that there's a whole bunch of voodoo going on in the back, and if you try to open up the entrant side of things, it will error out, and you don't want that to happen. So do yourself a favor and install another browser. Doesn't matter which one. They should all work. So right now I'm going to open up Chrome. I'm going to put the entrant site in there. So now I have two browsers. I have the entrance site in one, and I have the administration site in the other. As you can see, what I changed here is now being reflected. If I wanted to make this blue, I can make it blue. And once it saves, and now it's blue. So we have a lot of control. We can edit the home page. So this is what happens when the user first logs in. Once they're here, this is what they're greeted with. We have the rules page. This is where you would want to put any specific rules according to your competition. We have the Contact Us page. This is where I recommend putting all the questions that you need to get pointed to. So if you have your ADDY contacts, your co-chairs, all that stuff should be in there. And the help page probably could be somewhat redundant, as well as the contact page, who to contact for category questions and whatnot. So we have a lot of pages to customize, and those are the ones that will be found in entrant and full pages. The other place you need to go is the site look and feel. And the one thing you have the ability to change here is the header. As you can see, we've got one little logo sitting in there, and all I did was upload that graphic through an image through the WYSIWYG browser, and then it places itself right here. I recommend using transparent PNGs, that's portable network graphics, mainly because we will have it so you can shrink the window and it'll slide over that gradient after a while. So what we have here is customization of each of the pages for all the text, all the body text that sits here on each of these links for your entrance. We have the site look and feel, which you can change the header out. Now keep in mind, with all the stuff that's in the body text, you can add images and things like that. So those of you who want to customize your competition so you can put the theme of this year's competition in there, you can totally do that. I'm going to skip over judging for now because we are not ready to show you that, and that's going to be another webinar, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. Emails are another thing you can configure, and there are plenty of those. Some of those you don't have to worry about right now because they will deal with post-judging, but we'll start with entrant registration. You have the ability to set up all these emails, and these are the fields you can use. So these will be pulled from the system. So it'll say whatever the entrant's contact first name is, whatever the contact's last name is, it'll place that in there dynamically for you. So these are the variables that you can use inside the email. So they've done a click here to log on, and that's using the link URL, which we found by looking at the competition and clicking on URL. So lots of customization here. You can put a forgot password in here as well. Same thing, you can use the fields to customize it. Now, another thing that you'll probably look at and go, why do I have to do that? The from email needs to be from an address at omnisg.com. The main reason being is that we do not want these to go in their junk filters. We don't want to get flagged by spam or anything like that. And so it has to come from at omnisg.com. I know that sucks, but that's one of the things we have to do. So what I recommend is that you can change this from to your competition. Excuse me. And then also the reply to is where you would put your address. So in this case, I would put in info@nebraska-addies.org. So most email programs will look at that reply to and go straight to it. But it needs to come from something at omnisg.com to make sure it gets to your entrance email boxes. All right. That's emails. Let's go down to manage. Manage competitions is pretty much the same as configure competitions. You'll see that same exact line. Entrance, whoa. And that's always a fun thing right there. All right, if that happens, just back out of it. And go back to addyawards.admin and log back in again. Please keep in mind and bear with us that this is brand new software. It is not without its problems. So we're going to go back to contact, or manage rather. We'll click on entrance. All right, as you can see, there is no entrance in there right now. And then the entries, I'm going to log out and go into a different competition so we can see that. Okay, so this will be a list of all your entrants, and you can make that list bigger so you can see all of them. There's lots of things you can do here besides open these up and edit. You can edit all their information, change their username, whatever you want to do. You can do a lot of searches, so if I want to search for specific people, and I can search, change little flags here, and click search, and it's going to pull up the person I was looking for, and then I can go in and edit their information. Entries works the exact same way. I've got a whole bunch of entries in this particular competition. These were all test entries that we were playing around with, but they still work. And this will be kind of the first flash of what the entrant form looks like. And we'll have another series on the entrant side of things, most likely next week. As you can see, we have lots of information to fill out. The one thing to note that's first and foremost important on the entry itself is when an entrant is filling out this form, they have to fill out this first page first and click save. And we will demo that on another time, but that is the biggest, most important because it'll have all their information. And then one of the newest features that we have this year is the upload. They'll be presented with an upload box. Every single category has one of these. It either has upload a digital asset for either a PDF or JPEG of the entry, or it will be an audio upload or a video upload. On campaigns, of course, for excuse me, the videos, there will be a series of video uploads that they can add, up to 4, of course, from 2 to 4 entries, and the same thing with audio. The nice thing about this is that we can preview the entry itself, and with video entries, we will be presented with a video box that will play the video. You'll be able to see your payments. Right now I have a whole bunch of offline by entrants, which means they're going to hand me a fat little check. But we can check those and do some reconciliation on that, and it will show you what payment types came in, the payment method. The awards, the ones that have been preloaded for you already, are the Best of Show, Gold, Silver, Bronze, and then the Student Best of Show, Gold, Silver, Bronze. Here's where you can add as many as you want. And then the last one that we need to look at right now is the contacts. And this is where you would add more club administrators so they can help you enter scores in on judging day, or you can check on your entrants, and then also where you enter judges. And on reports. So in reports, we moved to custom, and there are going to be more reports within each one of these, but right now I'm going to show you the custom, and then one report called Club Wall Sheet. Like the other ones before, it will come up. We have to do one more step this year because they're all coming into different viewers, but you should see a nice little category display with that. It'll show you how many entries are actually in that particular category. You can either print directly from here, or you can save it out as a PDF and click Export. And then, like each one of these, you will be able to see all the different entries in there. And that is reports. There'll be more reports being populated within this. For instance, the winners reports and all that. We have exports, and you'll see 2 links in here. One's for Excel, and this will be your entry and entrant list. So you can get a good list of all the entrants in your competition. Also the file downloader, which is not ready to go yet, but this is where you will be able to grab all the files that have been uploaded into your competition. So all the video files, all the audio files, all the digital assets that have been uploaded. And then you can hand your video and audio to your, and the digital assets to your show producers or whoever's putting together your gallery, whatever you want to do. But that should all be available hopefully within the next month or so. And that is pretty much the end of this side of things. The last thing you need to know is the support and help line. There are a bunch of FAQs here, some guides. A lot of these aren't necessarily formatted specifically for ADDY, but they will be pertinent to this particular software and help you get through a few questions. Again, don't forget, along the side of the competition is always a little help. And you should be able to look at that and check things out. At the end of the day, you can always email addyinfo@aaf.org with questions. You can also email the Omni site, which is available right at the home page there, client support at OmniSG. And that is the administration area. Very quick, whirlwind through it. Like I said, we're going to have more webinars to kind of get into the minutia and the details of each one. And that's what we have so far. Joanne?
Jeffrey, I have a few questions. One question came in and it said, can you specify a discount for an individual company and keep it hidden from other entrants?
That is a good question. I believe you can, but I will get back to you on that.
Okay. The person who sent that question send me your contact information. We'll get that to you. Another question that came in is there a guide for page dimensions, particularly the header?
Page dimensions, not really. I would keep it as small as possible. Let's look at it. I believe this height is about 160. So you keep it in that. But as far as putting stuff in here, it's however big you want to make it.
Okay. Here's a question asking when people are locked out or get off the site, how would you like them to report issues that they are having?
Two ways. I need them to send an email to Omni directly and then CC me. And the address on the screen. I don't know if everybody can see that. That's jeffrey.delong@addyaddicts.org. So you'd send it to client support, and actually we have ADDY. And then copy me. Oops. Those are the two best contacts right there. And it is site support-addy@OmniSG. I was mistaken. That's the actual address you want to send. So for technical assistance with the online entry system, so if you have errors and if the site is logged you out or done something that you can't get back in, that's the email you want to go to. All other questions can go here, and then if you need me, I'm right here.
Okay, next question says all print will be uploaded as well, and of course we...
All right, big question mark there, yes, and I forgot to clarify that. Yes, the print will be uploaded, but it will not be judged online. There will still be print putting on the tables. All collateral material needs to be put on the tables to be judged. The only reason we are putting the digital asset there for every single category is so it makes it easier for you after the fact. So for judging, no, but for the show production and gallery postings, totally acceptable. Handing a PDF or a JPEG to your video producer to produce the show is a lot easier than at the end of the day taking a whole bunch of pictures and then sending them of all your winning entries. Depends on how you do it, but that's what we're trying to help you out with. Also, it's a good review to look at that to make sure you're judging the right pieces, if there's a question.
Here's another question. How about an export of registrants? That is, people who registered but did not enter.
That'll all be under the entry list and the exports. And also you can check between, if you go into Manage and Entrants, one of the things you will see is if they have entries or not. You'll notice these don't have entries, and you can sort. Whoops. And you'll see that these are the people that do not have entries in the system. So there's a couple ways to do it. I would do it visually first, and then you can export that if you need to. Okay?
Okay, next question. You mentioned that you would show how to add categories like roll-ups.
Yes, we can do that real quick. So we need to make sure our competition is pinned. We go into categories, and let's say we want to add a budget breakdown into a television category. So we're going to drive down into that category. So television, I'm going to add a regional national TV single. All right, and I'm going to go, let's see, I want to add one to 47A. So I'm going to go New. And here's my roll-up category. Now, this is going to look like a behemoth of a list, but it's all in order, advertising for the arts. It's in alphabetical order, so I'm going to scroll all the way down to television here. I'm going to go to 47A, products. All right, so that's my roll-up. This is going to be a professional, so it's a single entry. Now this is the other little trick. We have the video upload fields set up for you, so you don't have to deal with that. So you just select the number that you need it to be in. So we're in 47A still, so this is all lining up, 47A. My entry category, products, budget. My code will be 47A1. All right, so it all lines up, 47-A. Oops. And this is the one thing that's not documented that we will get documented a little bit better, but we either need to be a print entry, an interactive entry, or an electronic entry. Electronic essentially means a video or an audio upload. In this case, it's electronic, so it'll either be a P as in print, an I as an interactive, or an E as an electronic. The rest of it you don't need to worry about unless you want to explain what this means right here. If it's a budget between $500 and $2,000, if this isn't clear enough, then you can add an extended description, and that will show on the entry form when they click on more information on that category. After that, you hit save and close, and then it should sit there along with everything else. And that's how you add a category. Next question.
It says, I am an ADDY chair and also the ADDY manager for my company. It seems that I cannot use the same email for being both an ADDY admin and ADDY entrant.
That is correct. That is correct. So you'll want to have two separate emails because as an ADDY admin, you definitely want to set up yourself as a test entrant, or if you are the ADDY administrator of your company, then you'll want to set up that as well. So you'll want a separate email. The reason being is because everything is tied to your email address. We have built in the system to keep all the entrants from years past. So right now, if I was an entrant, I can type in my email address from last year when I'm registering, and it'll find my information from previous years and then plot me in the competition, so I don't have to re-enter all my stuff. There was a lot of complaints from our entrants across the nation saying they really didn't like having to enter in their stuff every year. So we've taken that and made it a lot easier for them to get into the system, and hopefully they'll be in the correct club as well. But that is why we have to keep the email addresses unique. So you will need one for your admin account and you will need one for your entrant account. Just like we have to keep two separate browsers going, if you want to look at both, you need to have two separate emails.
Next question is, will these webinars be archived for future use? That
Yes,
answer is
they
yes.
will. They are being recorded as we speak, so all my little mess-ups today are recorded and will live in infamy. So yes, they are being recorded, and you'll be able to go and download them once we have a place for them.
Your next question, since digital files can be uploaded, is it possible to do all judging online and prevent judges from having to travel?
While it is possible, it is not recommended. And I implore you to not do that. The only things I would send out ahead of time would be the digital advertising categories, all your websites and online entries. Those are the only things that should be going out ahead of time. Personally, as a judge, I like to sit down and view the TV spots on a nice monitor with the rest of my compadre judges. I also want to walk the room and look at all the great advertising work that's sitting on the table. Being a print background, I like to pick it up, feel it, smell it, and love it. So please do not go all online.
And there's another reason why you would not want to do that. Should your winners then need to advance, you're without the piece to send off to the district and ultimately national. Yeah. So then you would have to then go back to your entrant and request that piece again, giving away that they won perhaps before the start of your show. Okay, next question is, will there be a webinar for entrants to take advantage of?
That's a good question. We could probably do something like that, yes.
Will you be following up with everyone registered on this webinar with the answers to each question in writing, including the contact information should we have issues during the actual judging?
As far as I'm concerned, yes, we can do that.
Okay. And I think we covered how do you set up a local-only category. That was another question.
Same exact process. We can just look at it real quick. We go to our list of categories. Don't look at Dan Test here, but you would click into local-only categories, click in the subcategory, and then add the one you want. Because when you hit that, and keep in mind that there is no roll-up on local-only categories, obviously, because it's local-only. So you would select your professional single. If it's a video, you could probably use one of the templates. It should work. And then you would type in your information, the number that you want to use. I recommend not using numbers for, like, our last one I believe is 75. Do not start with 76. I recommend using like a letter and a number after that, just to keep them segregated from the rest of the categories in the competition.
Here's a question that says, can you upload more than one file for all single entries too, not just campaigns?
No, that's why we're allowing PDFs, so you can do multi-page PDFs.
Next question, will broadcast entrants have to still submit a disk if it's uploaded?
No. There is no longer DVDs or CDs required at all. There is one category left. It's 40, I believe, and that's the multimedia DVD in the digital advertising category, because the entry is actually stuff that you're supposed to submit on a disk. So that's the only category that needs a DVD submission. The rest of them, it's all online. So to package your entries, or at least to school your entrants on packaging your entries, literally just the envelope and the entry forms need to be in the given. That's it.
Next question, we are possibly having multiple levels for the show, i.e. general admission, VIP, party only. Can we sell tickets at multiple levels?
This isn't a ticketing system. This is for the competition only, so that's totally up to you. This doesn't handle your event. This handles your judging and entry collection.
This question says, I'm not clear how to pin. Do I just click on the icon?
Yes.
Okay.
If we just click, it'll unpin it. If we click, it'll pin it. Oh, hello. And a lovely error. So if the pin is pointing to the left, it's been pinned. If it's pointing down, that means it's unpinned.
This question is the site intuitive in that it will tell us what we are missing before it allows us to move forward?
In the administration area or in the entrance side?
They don't say.
Okay. In the administration area, there are required fields, and it should alert you. In the entrance side of things, it will also tell you what they haven't finished doing. So if you are uploading something or if you're trying to add an entry, it should tell you exactly what's missing. It'll basically say the required fields haven't been met, and then should tell you exactly which ones need to be met. The administration area sometimes is not as intuitive on the messaging, so if there's an issue, please email that and let us know.
Here's a question that says, if all judges have laptops, can they enter their gradings versus printing paper?
Yes, there are different ways we can do this. It's going to be really hard to carry a laptop around while judging, especially if you're looking at stuff in a decent-sized room. I recommend iPads or some sort of tablet that you can carry around if you're trying to be green and save from killing trees, which is always a good thing. But yes, that other URL, this is what they'll be given. And they can log in with their username and password that you will set up in Contacts. And they can pull up their lists and score all their entries appropriately and hit save. And we will go over that whole judging round system once it's all fleshed out, and we can offer that to you also in a webinar.
Question, is this a single only upload or is it a bulk uploader?
It is a single only upload. So if it's a campaign video, you'll be presented with a video upload button. You'll upload it, and then you can add another video, and then add another video. For those who are asking about multiple files, the easiest thing to do is create a multi-page PDF, so you can see each one of those.
Will entries for broadcast be submitted in a similar fashion to interactive?
In a similar fashion. Entries for broadcast should be uploaded as video files, and interactive or digital advertising categories should be entered as URLs.
Okay, just last question. We're coming to the end here.
No worries.
We had issues with HD video versus standard def last year. Can the system accept HD video?
It'll accept any video.
Okay. Is it possible to add file format requirements such as code C in the file upload dialog for video files?
Right now, the formats that we have it bringing back to are MPEGs and H.2.4, and I believe we're also allowing WMVs. We're keeping it relatively open, and we'll see how it goes, and then we'll lock it down later. Audio is MP3s and AIFFs and WMVs as well, or WMAs.
Okay, and here is the last question. We learned at our summer leadership meeting that on the entrance side, entrants cannot delete entries. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. They should still be able to delete, or they can make them inactive. They can leave them as incomplete, but they might stay in the list. I will confirm that.
Okay, those are all the questions for today. It looks like there's a great interest in some education for the entrant. Jeffrey, do you feel strongly that the entrant can self-learn pretty easily as they enter, or would they need some education on that?
The education, I believe, could come from a little bit of explanation in the text. Here, if you wanted to put it, you can put it under help. There has previously never ever been entrant side training, except in local training seminars that have been held by the club admins themselves. I know this because I've facilitated a few. Other than that, it's relatively intuitive in my world, but that's a totally different world from a lot of people, so I could understand why entrant training would be needed. I would say at this time we aren't scheduled to put anything out for specifically entrants only. If there's enough call for it, we can probably figure something out.
Okay, is there anything else that you would like to say to everyone before we close today? Remember, today's webinar will be archived, and we will send you an email soon with the schedule for the next webinar. We hope to have one next week. We will confirm that with all of you. Please let us know if someone else should be on our email blast list by just sending addyinfo@aaf.org an email, and we will upgrade our list. If that's all, we thank you very much for your time, and feel free to send us any further questions as we go along. Okay?
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
I hope you
Thank
have a
you,
great
everyone.
afternoon.
Bye.